So, what happens when you take a brand new, super smart AI and pit it against a $1 board game? Well, you get a story that might just change how we think about building software. A developer actually ran this experiment, and honestly, the results are kind of wild.
Okay, so the challenge sounds pretty straightforward, right? You take a physical board game you bought for a buck and turn it into something you can play in your web browser. But here's the thing, this story isn't really about the game itself. It's about the tool used to build it and how that tool is evolving in some really fundamental ways.
All right, so let's get into it. The first try, using a pretty powerful but let's say slightly older AI, that took a solid 6 hours from start to finish. Now, the second attempt, with a brand new model, that's where things get really interesting. Because the difference we're about to see isn't just about how long it took, it's about a total shift in how the work got done. So, to really appreciate just how big of a leap this is, we gotta look at the baseline first. Let's break down that initial 6 hour build. So, here's the setup. Our developer goes into a dollar store and grabs this board game, Japan and World Tour. For the first attempt, their partner in crime is an AI model called Gemini 3. The mission is simple: digitize this thing. Turn a piece of cardboard into a real, working browser game. Sounds easy enough, right? Now, this breakdown is where it gets fascinating. Look at this. The core game system, the AI spit that out in just 10 minutes. That's incredible. But then, look where all the other time went. 2 whole hours of the developer just manually, tediously typing in map data. And then another 3 hours debugging and fine-tuning everything. So yeah, the AI part was super fast, but all that manual human work, that was the real bottleneck. Okay, so now let's fast forward a bit. A few months go by, and a new, even more powerful AI model hits the scene. This one's called Claude Opus 4.6. Our developer decides, you know what, let's run this whole experiment again. So you remember how the first AI cranked out the core game in just 10 minutes? Well, the developer gives the new AI the exact same task. So, what's your guess? How long did it take this time? 15 minutes. And I know what you're thinking. Wait a second, that's longer? And yeah, you're right, it is. But trust me, that number is the most misleading part of this entire story. Because what the AI was doing in those 15 minutes wasn't just blindly coding from scratch. It was doing something, well, something much, much smarter. See, here's the kicker. The developer gave it zero special instructions. The AI, completely on its own, scanned the developer's files, found the old project from the first attempt, and basically said, hey, hold on, why are we starting from scratch? We can just reuse this. It showed judgment. This wasn't just a code monkey anymore. It was acting like a real partner. And that proactivity, it didn't stop there. This is where it gets really cool. The new AI started looking ahead, anticipating the developer's biggest frustrations from the first go-around, and started solving them before it was even asked. You remember that awful 2 hour grind from the first time? The mind-numbing task of typing in all those map coordinates. The developers said that was by far the worst part of the whole project. So this time, they figured they'd ask the new AI if there was a better way. And wow, this right here shows you the massive jump in ability. The older AI, sure, it could build a tool, but it was clunky, you still had to type in numbers. This new AI, Opus 4.6, on request, it instantly built a custom visual tool, a drag-and-drop editor. The developer could just click and move the locations on the map. See the difference? It didn't just follow an instruction, it designed a beautiful solution to the real problem. And it just kept going. The AI basically gave itself a promotion to head of QA. It ran automated quality checks on the code, it fired up the game in a browser to actually test it, and then, get this, it took screenshots and even video to prove that everything looked right and sent that proof back to the developer. It wasn't just building the thing, it was making sure the thing actually worked. But, this isn't some fairy tale about perfect technology. This incredible new collaboration, it's still a partnership between a human and a machine. And like any partnership, well, there was a bit of a hiccup. So, that amazing custom-built drag-and-drop tool, the one that was supposed to make life so much easier and solve that huge headache from before? Yeah, well, as soon as the developers started using it, they ran into a problem. It just wouldn't save the changes. 30 minutes. It took 30 minutes to fix that one bug. Now look, in a 6 hour project, 30 minutes is a coffee break. But when your entire initial build only took 15 minutes, a 30-minute delay, that's a pretty significant setback. So what happened? Turns out it was a bit of a team effort, and not in a good way. The developer had gone in and manually changed a data file, which kind of threw the AI for a loop. And the AI, for its part, got tripped up by how complex that file was. It's a perfect reminder, right? This stuff is powerful, but it's not magic. It's still a partnership, and both sides have to be in sync. Okay, so after all that, the insane speed, the brilliant custom tool, and that one really frustrating bug, what's the final verdict? Let's put these two attempts side by side and see the final score. And here's the tale of the tape. Even with that 30-minute bug hunt, the total time for the project dropped from 6 hours all the way down to 2. And the real story is right there in that last row. The AI went from just following instructions to becoming a proactive partner. I mean, the results really do speak for themselves. So the big takeaway here isn't just, wow, things got faster. It's about the fundamental change in what the AI is. It went from being a simple tool that does what you tell it to a full-on collaborator that gets the big picture, sees problems coming, and comes up with creative solutions. That is the game changer here. We're talking about a completely new way of building things. And just think about it for a second. This whole thing started with a $1 board game. But what it shows us is a massive, monumental leap forward. It really leaves you with one big question, right? If an AI can do all this for a simple little project in just a couple of hours, what's going to happen when we point it at something really, truly complex? Well, that's exactly what this developer is doing. Their next project, a much, much more complex submarine warfare game. So this whole era of having an AI as a true creative partner, it's not coming soon anymore. It's already here. And we're just now getting the first peek at what that's really going to look like.